How can sober living help someone in recovery? How can sober living help someone in recovery? To answer that question, it's important to talk about what sober living really is. Many people have made the first step into recovery from drug and alcohol addiction by sequestering themselves to a rehab facility for 30, 60, even 90 days in some cases. That can be a life-changing event and a healthy choice that can save their lives. But the truth is, it's only the start of the journey. We reached out to friends and experts to tell us about what comes afterwards. Let's hear what they have to say.
Going to treatment, I don't want to tell everybody that it's easy, but it's basically the one thing that you're focusing on in your life. You're not worried about work, you're not really worried about finances or cell phone or what your mom or dad or your loved ones are doing. Once you're in treatment like I had gone to, I mean, that's your focal point. You're basically focusing on how to get sober, and when you go to a facility like I went to, you're going to be sober. They're going to take your drugs and alcohol away. So the real challenge is, what do you do outside of those facilities? One of the biggest things that I've learned in recovery is that wherever your head's going, so are your feet.
Everybody should have a hand in their own aftercare plan and be a part of the plan themselves. Like going to meetings, I would say, would be number one. Therapy sessions would be up to the person if that's what they want to do. IOP, intensive outpatient programming, is probably best. Sober living, absolute best, if they can go to a sober living directly after their residential stay. I think sober living is the best because it kind of gives them more time to have the sobriety underneath their belt and learning to reassimilate back into the community in a safe environment, in a monitored environment, with more flexibility to have more freedoms. You're still being monitored and guided, you still have guidance, but you also have that taste of freedom. Most likely, if you go to a sober living, you are gonna have about a week of a blackout, at least, where you won't have your phone and everything, but you will be getting reacclimated into the community that you're living in for that time being in the sober living. So you'll get used to the programming, you'll get used to the staff, and then slowly you get your personal items back, like your cell phone or laptop, and then you'll have the freedom to be able to use those things while in treatment. That's going to help you get back into the community to live independently.
The goal is to get people back into society feeling healthy, healed, and ready to contribute in their communities. Each decision made on the path to recovery is an important one. Choosing to go to rehab is a great first step. And after leaving those programs, it's important to take ownership of your future by going to group meetings, talking to your sponsor, and following up with your doctors and therapists when needed. Sober living is a good place for these things to happen. It offers support from friends and professionals while giving clear boundaries early in recovery. This time period will shape your future as you learn new and vital skills to help you heal from the pain caused by addiction and form healthy habits. Each new experience in sobriety will help you gain an expertise in learning to cope with the pressures of life.
Every day in recovery, clean day, is a good day. So the longer you can put a person in that environment, okay, the more probability of success they will have long term. 30 days isn't fixed. That's what I see. But 30 days, if they have the tools, they came to us with an empty tool bag, and they've learned how to use them, the success rate I have seen over the years is much, much higher. You learn how to live with somebody, you budget a week, you plan a week, and that gives them the ability, while still in treatment, while in a housing situation, living situation that's not like going back home, and it gives them the ability, while we have a safety net of medical, psychological, nursing, whatever we need for them, they've got a safety net. A lot of kids come in here and say, well, this is nothing but common sense. And I'll say, you know what? You're exactly right. I got one question for you. What's that? Why don't you know how to use it when you start making choices?
Two of the biggest things that I had learned in sober living were, one, to be and learn how to be independent, and then two, be held accountable. Because those run, right together with each other. For me, when I had to relearn how to not only come up with my rent every month, which meant that I had to have my job where I had this income coming in, but then having to do my chores, like not only just making my bed every morning. That's a ritual that I got into actually in treatment that has followed me for the last 2.5 years. But once I get out of bed, I make that bed. That gives me the first thing that I've done off my checklist for the day. And I know if I've done just that and that alone, that everything else should come in line like a domino effect. So the other folks that I had lived with in the sober living house, they had a chore to do every week. They were responsible for something. So I actually got to see the flow of a house and what it took for everybody to come together and complete the chore list that we had. Seems really simple, to just like clean the floors or vacuum the floors or clean the bathroom. But by cleaning this entire house for 1.5 years, seeing what that took together, to have an actual clean house, not only to give you a sense of feeling good, but you got that sense of accomplishment that's settled in. And so for me, my biggest step was, what is it going to take for me to move out of this house financially and allow myself that stepping stone?
So I think for some people, coming home is a death warrant. And I think that going into sober living actually does a multitude of things. I think it helps a person, first of all, not to go back to their using environment, using of origin place. I think that it actually helps them with coping skills, learning how to live amongst other people that in fact are not family, because our families are our biggest enablers. I think it helps them to learn how to go out and get jobs and learn how to be independent and responsible. And it's a long-term living situation. Most living or sober houses that I know of can be up to 1 year or more. And I actually think that depending on the progression of someone's illness, that some people need that long, if not longer, to be able to learn how to live in their skin again and live amongst society and learn how to be a functioning, contributing member of society.
30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever the amount of time you need to mend your mind, body, and spirit is time well spent. The care you receive during inpatient recovery can be life-saving. But anyone who has come out of a facility will tell you that rehab alone is not enough. Every day, you will contend with the disease of addiction, but each sober day is a victory won.
Usually nobody knows or rarely knows the difference between a halfway house and sober living. And if they think they do, they think it's the same, which that's a big fallacy. It's not. Sober living's a choice. So what I do is I go into a little bit of my story about how financially I was able to, afford my own place. So why would I go to treatment for 30 days and with the target in mind to go back home and just restart my life over? Why would I move into a sober living house? What I try to explain to folks is give this facility, give this help that you're taking a chance. Give it a strong 3 to 4 weeks.
30 days, you're kind of in the up in the clouds, everything's perfect kind of scenario, but you're sober and safe in this house that you're living in now within these 4 walls. Once you leave the safeness of the residential community and go back out into regular life every day, you don't have the supports there that you would have in a sober living environment. Getting together with people with the same like-minded path going forward in your life to be sober can be empowering. 30 days is a tiny piece of your life in the grand scheme of your life, so what's 30 more days? It's just giving you even more time to have that sobriety underneath your belt to help you be able to live independently in the community.
Day by day, that is how those of us living in sobriety learn to walk again. Through practicing new skills that help us grow, like work, clean living, and sometimes by just getting out of bed and facing the day. Each evening we go to bed sober is a good day because we all want the same basic things: happiness, purpose, and caring from our fellow man while contributing to the world. The chance to live a life that is fulfilled. Sober living can help give us all of this. I know it can be scary. leaving everything behind and walking into the unknown. But it's key to remember the best way to break a habit is to get out of the environment that facilitated it in the first place. Cutting off the people and places that kept you tied to your addiction is paramount to your success. The people who truly love you most want to see you healed, but they can't do it for you. You have to make the choice and be steadfast in your resolve.
For many people, it can be a wonderful experience. My daughter went to one of our sister programs and actually didn't come back home. And at first I was a little like, but then I realized for her to come back to this area was certain death for her. And I was actually really glad that she had taken that stand for herself and decided to go to a program. Well, I was sleeping better at night, knowing that she was in a program, knowing that she had to be accountable to this program, knowing that they do random urines, knowing that she had to get a job. All those things were things that she just was not able to do here, but with a different set of people, she was able to rise to that. So it actually was much better. I had much more relief having her there rather than here. Here was torture, which I think is for parents, because you're seeing what's going on. Yeah. You're watching your person that you love kind of like really die in front of your eyes.
God's given me a love for the addict. I have an ultimate hate for the addiction. It's a horrible thing. Structure and accountability. People come to me, they don't know, or either they're not willing to clean up. And I say this, I don't know if you can put this on tape or not, but you know, a lot of times they come to me and what I tell them first thing, I said, if you wash your behind and brush your teeth, you might like it. You don't know what it feels like to have a clean bed, clean sheets, clean clothes, and don't smell like a donkey, okay? You might like it. You're home, you take care of it. If you can't or won't, then I'll step in and show you how. And 9 times out of 10, very few times after the first time I tear everything up, show them how to do it, they do it. And then they get into a habit of saying, okay, well, how does this whole thing fit together? If you want to live in disarray and all this confusion and disorder in life, that's called addiction. If you want to have some structure, you want to feel good and have a little self-respect for yourself, that's called healing.
Healing. That is our wish for you. To lay down the burden of addiction and find strength to face the day with a sober mind. Not just for the 30 days of rehab, but for the rest of your life. We want you to have the tools to build a new life free from the chains of drugs or alcohol. Your life is one worth living. Your voice is one the world wants to hear. Know that you are loved. You can take great pride in making the choice to get healthy. As always, remember, recovery is a journey, and that journey begins with the first step.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, we're here to help. Give us a call at 888-216-4032. For new episodes of Around the Turn, make sure to hit subscribe below.